The last stand. The quantum sensors detected them first. A vast swarm of ships emerging from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at her command station aboard the TDF Vigilant, Earth's newest flagship, watching as more hostile signatures appeared by the second. The Neferi had finally come. "Status report," she commanded, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, their fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. 712 Neferi vessels identified so far, Admiral Lieutenant Rivera reported. Their energy signatures matched the Proxima Centauri attack pattern. This is their main invasion fleet. Sarah closed her eyes briefly, remembering the devastating footage from Proxima 3 months ago. Humanity's first extrasolar colony, reduced to ash in less than a day. The Neferi hadn't even attempted communication. They simply appeared and began systematically destroying every human structure and settlement. "Alert all Earth Defense Force vessels," Sarah ordered. "Initiate Protocol Aegis, and get me a direct line to the Security Council." The Neferi weren't like other alien species humanity had encountered in its century of space exploration, where others sought trade or cultural exchange. The Neferi sought only conquest. Their crystalline ships moved with horrifying precision. Their weapon systems operated on principles human science barely understood, and their goals remained a complete mystery. They simply attacked, destroyed, and moved on. "Security Council standing by, Admiral," Communications Officer Park announced. The holographic faces of Earth's leadership appeared before Sarah. She could see the fear in their eyes, though they struggled to maintain composure. "Honorable Council members," Sarah began, "the Neferi main fleet has arrived. Current count suggests they outnumber our forces nearly 3-1. Request immediate authorization to execute the Thanatos Protocol." A heavy silence fell over the connection. The Thanatos Protocol was humanity's last resort, a desperate gambit that hoped would never be needed. "Authorization granted." Council President Okonjo finally responded. "May God help us all." Sarah turned to her XO, Commander David Jung. "Begin civilian evacuation procedures. All non-essential personnel are to report to their designated bunker facilities immediately." She paused, then added quietly, "And send the signal to Atlas Base. Tell them it's time." Deep beneath the Himalayan mountains, Dr. Elena Santos received the transmission in Atlas Base's central command. Her hands trembled slightly as she entered her authorization code, initiating startup procedures for Project Ark. The Neferi fleet advanced with mechanical precision, their crystalline ships arranging themselves in perfect geometric patterns. The first shots were fired near Saturn's orbit, long-range energy weapons that Earth's most advanced shields could barely withstand. "All vessels, maintain formation," Sarah broadcast to her fleet. "Remember your training. We just need to hold them long enough." The space battle that followed would be remembered for generations as humanity's finest hour. Though hopelessly outnumbered, Earth's defenders fought with desperate courage and cunning. They used the solar system's gravity wells to execute impossible maneuvers, turned asteroid fields into weapon systems, and forced the Neferi to pay dearly for every advance. But it wasn't enough. It was never meant to be enough. As the battle raged above, Project Ark entered its final phase. 20 massive ships, hidden in underground facilities around the globe, began powering up their experimental drives. Each vessel carried 10,000 carefully selected humans, scientists, soldiers, engineers, artists, and children, along with the combined knowledge and cultural heritage of Earth. "Admiral," Rivera called out, his voice tight, "we've lost the Mars defense line. 30% of our fleet is gone." Sarah nodded grimly. They were right on schedule. "Begin falling back to Earth orbit. Coordinate with ground batteries. Make them think we're preparing for a last stand." The Neferi pressed their advantage, their perfect formations never wavering despite the losses they'd sustained. Their ships moved inexorably toward Earth, energy weapons cutting through the darkness of space. In Atlas Base, Elena watched as the final preparations were completed. The Ark ships were ready. Years of secret construction, countless technological breakthroughs, and humanity's greatest minds had led to this moment. All Ark vessels report ready, her assistant announced. Awaiting your command. Elena took a deep breath. Initialize quantum masking fields. Begin launch sequence. Above, the space battle reached its crescendo. The remaining Earth Defense Force ships fought desperately around their homeworld, selling their lives dearly to maintain the illusion of a final defense. Ark launches confirmed, Rivera reported quietly to Sarah. All 20 ships away, quantum signatures masked. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The Neferi would never know that humanity's future had slipped away right under their noses, protected by technology they couldn't detect. It has been an honor, she broadcast to her remaining fleet. For Earth. The Vigilant turned to face the approaching Neferi armada, its weapons blazing in one final act of defiance. Sarah thought of the Ark ships, now racing away from the solar system using theoretical physics that even the Neferi hadn't mastered. 20 ships carrying humanity's seeds, heading for a distant star cluster that their enemy sensors couldn't penetrate. The Neferi would claim Earth. They would believe they had broken humanity's spirit and eliminated another potential rival. But they would be wrong. Because even as Earth fell, humanity endured. And in the darkness between the stars, 20 ships carried with them not just people and knowledge, but something the Neferi couldn't understand. Hope. And someday, humanity would return. Seeds of hope. 3 months after Earth's fall, the Ark fleet emerged from quantum space into an unknown region of the galaxy. Their destination was a dense cluster of stars surrounded by unusual radiation fields, a natural phenomenon that would help mask their presence from Neferi detection systems. Dr. Elena Santos stood at the observation deck of the flagship Ark-1, watching as the fleet's sensors mapped their surroundings. They had identified 7 potentially habitable worlds within the cluster, far more than their initial scans had suggested. Perhaps the universe itself was giving humanity a second chance. Initial survey teams are ready, reported Captain Maya Patel, the young officer who commanded Ark-1's military contingent. Permission to begin planetary reconnaissance. Elena nodded. As Project Ark's chief scientist and mission director, she carried the weight of humanity's future on her shoulders. Proceed with caution. We can't afford any mistakes. The next few weeks were a flurry of activity as survey teams investigated each potential world. They finally selected a planet they named Haven, a terrestrial world slightly larger than Earth, with breathable atmosphere and vast oceans. Its greater surface gravity would be challenging at first, but their scientists believed humans would adapt over generations. It's not Earth, Maya said as they watched the first landing ships descend through Haven's purple-tinged atmosphere. But it's something almost as precious, a new beginning. The first year was the hardest. Despite extensive planning and resources, establishing a colony from scratch tested every limit of human endurance and ingenuity. They built their first settlement in a sheltered valley, using advanced fabrication technology to create structures that could withstand Haven's frequent storms. But amid the challenges, Elena saw something remarkable happening. The survivors of Earth were transforming their grief into determination. Every setback was met with innovation, every obstacle with creativity. The 20 Ark ships became the foundation for their first cities, their advanced systems repurposed to serve the growing colony. Take a look at this, Dr. James Chen, their lead quantum physicist, said during one of their regular research briefings. He projected a hologram showing modifications to their quantum masking technology. We've discovered that Haven's unusual magnetic field actually enhances our stealth capabilities. If we can understand the principles involved, we might be able to develop completely new forms of quantum engineering. Elena studied the data with growing excitement. The very features that made this star cluster a good hiding place could also help them advance their technology beyond anything Earth had achieved, beyond anything the Neferi could imagine. 5 years passed. The initial settlement grew into New Providence, a city of 50,000. Children who had never seen Earth played in parks under Haven's twin moons. In laboratories and research centers, scientists pushed the boundaries of human knowledge, driven by the understanding that technological superiority would be crucial to humanity's survival and eventual return. "We've cracked it," James announced one day, bursting into Elena's office. "The quantum field equations. We finally understand how the Nefari's crystalline ships achieve their perfect formation coordination. And more importantly, we know how to disrupt it." Elena leaned forward. "You're certain?" "Absolutely. Their technology relies on quantum entanglement principles we never understood before. But Haven's unique properties helped us see the underlying patterns. We can not only match their capabilities but exceed them." The breakthrough was just the beginning. Over the next decade, innovations followed one after another. They developed energy systems that drew power from quantum fluctuations, materials stronger than any Nefari crystal, and propulsion systems that could navigate the quantum realm with unprecedented precision. But perhaps most importantly, they never forgot who they were or where they came from. Every child born on Haven grew up learning Earth's history, understanding that their comfortable lives came with a responsibility to honor those who had sacrificed everything to give humanity a future. 20 years after landing, Haven had become the center of a thriving civilization. 3 more planets in the cluster had been colonized, each developing its own specialties while remaining united in purpose. The original Ark ships had been studied, reverse-engineered, and improved upon, leading to the creation of a new fleet, one built not just for survival, but for eventual victory. Elena, her hair now streaked with gray, stood in the quantum observatory, watching as the first of these new vessels underwent its trial runs. The ship moved with liquid grace, its quantum fields bending space in ways that would have seemed like magic to their ancestors on Earth. "The Nefari won't know what hit them," Maya said, coming to stand beside her. The captain had become an admiral, overseeing the military development of their reborn civilization. "That's not enough," Elena replied softly. "We can't just match their level of advancement. We need to surpass it so completely that they can never threaten humanity again." Maya nodded in understanding. "How long?" Elena watched as the test ship executed a series of maneuvers that would have been impossible under normal physics. "We're close. The quantum technology is nearly perfected. The stealth systems are beyond anything we had on Earth, but we need to be certain." "The survivors on Earth have waited 20 years, Maya reminded her. "How much longer should they wait?" Elena turned to face her friend. "We're not just building weapons or ships. We're building a civilization capable of not just defeating the Nefari, but ensuring they can never threaten anyone again. Every child born here, every breakthrough in our labs, every new ship we launch brings us closer to that goal." She looked back at the test ship, its quantum fields shimmering like ghostly wings. "We'll return when we're ready. And when we do, it won't be for simple revenge. It will be to fulfill the promise we made to those who died defending Earth, that humanity would not only survive, but return stronger than ever." In the shipyards orbiting Haven, more vessels were under construction. Each one represented a perfect fusion of human ingenuity and the quantum sciences they had mastered. Soon, they would begin the next phase, sending stealth observers to monitor the Nefari Empire, gathering intelligence for the day of return. The seeds of hope planted by the Ark ships had grown into something the Nefari could never have anticipated. Humanity hadn't just survived, they had evolved, adapted, and transcended their former limitations. And in the darkness between the stars, they prepared for the day of reckoning. The Silent Watchers. Commander Zora Chen adjusted her quantum stealth field as her ship, the Phantom, drifted silently through Nefari space. After 30 years of exile, humanity was finally watching their ancient enemy. As the daughter of James Chen, she had grown up with quantum physics and stealth technology. Now she put that knowledge to use, gathering intelligence that would help free Earth. "Contact, bearing 320, whispered Lieutenant Cole through their neural interface. The crew communicated through quantum-encrypted thought patterns, technology that had been theoretical on Earth but perfected on Haven. Nefari Patrol Fleet. Through the Phantom's quantum sensors, Zara observed the crystalline ships moving in their characteristic perfect formation. Once, such coordination had seemed magical. Now she understood the quantum principles behind it, and more importantly, its weaknesses. Record everything, she instructed, especially their communication patterns. The Phantom was one of 50 observer vessels deployed throughout Nefari space. For the past year, they had been building a comprehensive picture of the empire that had driven humanity from Earth. What they found was both encouraging and disturbing. The Nefari hadn't simply occupied Earth. They had dismantled much of human civilization, strip mining cities, and rebuilding them in their crystalline image. But their technological advancement had plateaued. They still used the same quantum crystal tech that had overwhelmed Earth's defenses 3 decades ago. Something's different about this patrol, Cole noted. Their formation geometry is degraded by 0.03%. Zara focused her attention on the sensor data. The lieutenant was right. The crystalline ships weren't maintaining their usual perfect spacing. It was a tiny flaw, but in 30 years of intelligence gathering, they had never seen the Nefari ships deviate from mathematical precision. Mark the location and time, she ordered. Forward the data to Haven analysis immediately. Back on Haven, Admiral Maya Patel reviewed the report in the Strategic Command Center. Around her, quantum processors analyzed decades of surveillance data, building complex models of Nefari society and military capabilities. They're not as perfect as they appear, Dr. Elena Santos observed, studying the degraded formation patterns. Though age, her mind remained sharp as ever. First, the communication gaps in the Proxima sector. Now this. Their empire is showing cracks. Maya nodded thoughtfully. The question is why. They've dominated this region of space for centuries. What's changed? The answer came 3 months later, when the Phantom discovered something extraordinary in a supposedly empty sector of space. Zara could hardly believe the sensor readings. Confirm these scans, she ordered Cole. Triple-check everything. Confirmed, Commander, he replied after several tense minutes. We're definitely seeing signs of quantum crystal degradation. Their basic building material is becoming unstable. The implications were staggering. The Nefari didn't just use quantum crystals for their ships. Their entire civilization was built on this technology. Their cities, their computers, their weapons, everything depended on the perfect atomic alignment of their crystal matrices. Haven Command. Priority transmission. Zara subvocalized through her neural link. Request immediate conference with Admiral Patel and Dr. Santos. We found their weakness. The quantum-encrypted transmission reached Haven instantly, thanks to the entanglement communications they had perfected. Within moments, Zara was virtually present in the Strategic Command Center, her consciousness projected across light years. The crystal degradation isn't isolated, she reported, sharing her sensor data. We've detected similar patterns across multiple sectors. The Nefari are losing control of their own technology. Elena's avatar studied the data with intense focus. This explains everything. The degraded ship formations, the communication failures, their quantum crystal technology is fundamentally flawed. They achieved perfect crystalline structure but couldn't maintain it indefinitely. The entropy buildup over centuries is finally taking its toll. Can they fix it? Maya asked. Unlikely, Elena replied. They don't understand quantum mechanics the way we do. They discovered these crystals and built their civilization around them, but they never truly mastered the underlying principles. We've surpassed them. The implications rippled through Haven's leadership. They had spent 30 years preparing for a confrontation with an overwhelmingly superior force. Instead, they had discovered an empire built on failing foundations. How long until their technology becomes critically unstable? Maya asked. Based on these degradation rates, Elena performed rapid calculations. Perhaps 20 years, but they'll experience increasing failures before then. They're vulnerable now, and they'll only become more so. Zara's avatar leaned forward. The Earth resistance needs to know. Our people have suffered under Nepheri rule for 3 decades, believing their oppressors were invincible. This could change everything. Agreed, Maya said. But we need to be strategic about this. If we move too soon, the Nepheri might still be strong enough to stop us. Too late, and the crystal degradation could cause catastrophic failures that would endanger Earth itself. The discussion continued for hours as they analyzed options and scenarios. Finally, a plan began to emerge. They would need to act within the next 5 years, soon enough to take advantage of the Nepheri's weakening technology, but not so soon that they risked failure. Commander Chen, Maya addressed Zora's avatar. Your new mission is to map every sign of crystal degradation you can find. We need to know where they're most vulnerable, where the failures are likely to begin. Dr. Santos will coordinate with our quantum engineering teams to develop weapons that can accelerate the degradation process. Zara nodded, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. Understood, Admiral. And the resistance on Earth. We'll find a way to get them the message, Elena said. Hope is a powerful weapon. Knowing that their oppressors aren't invincible, that help is coming. It could change everything. As the meeting concluded, Zora's consciousness returned to her body aboard the Phantom. She looked out at the Nepheri patrol ships, still moving in their nearly perfect formation, and smiled. The crystalline empire had thought themselves eternal, unassailable in their technological superiority. They were wrong. Humanity hadn't just survived their attack. They had evolved beyond anything the Nepheri could comprehend. And soon, very soon, they would prove it. Plot a course to the next observation point, she ordered Cole. We have a lot of work to do before the revolution begins. Operation Dawn. Admiral Maya Patel stood on the bridge of the HSS Retribution, watching as the first wave of the Liberation Fleet assembled in Haven's orbit. 300 ships, each representing the pinnacle of human quantum engineering, formed a pattern that would have made the Nepheri's perfect formations look primitive by comparison. All vessels report ready, Admiral, announced Captain Sarah Chen, Zora's younger sister and Maya's fly captain. Quantum drives charged and synchronized. Maya touched the worn data crystal she always carried, a piece of the original Arc One, kept as a reminder of their journey. Signal the fleet. Operation Dawn begins now. The Liberation Fleet vanished in a cascade of quantum shifts, leaving Haven's purple skies empty. When they reemerged, they were deep in Nepheri space, their arrival masked by their advanced stealth systems. Their first target was New Terra, once humanity's most distant colony world before the Nepheri invasion. Intelligence from Zara's observer ships confirmed it was now a minor outpost, its human population used as labor in crystal manufacturing facilities. Multiple Nepheri signatures detected, Sarah reported. 2 defense platforms, 1 light cruiser squadron. Standard crystal tech configurations, showing signs of degradation as expected. Maya nodded. Deploy quantum disruptors. Let's show them what 30 years of human innovation looks like. The battle that followed wasn't really a battle at all. The Retribution and its escorts launched precisely calibrated quantum pulses that interfaced with the degrading crystal matrices of Nepheri technology. The enemy ships didn't explode or break apart. They simply stopped working, their perfect formations dissolving into aimless drift. Ground facilities are responding, Sarah announced. They're attempting to activate planetary defense systems. Neutralize their command centers only, Maya ordered. Minimal collateral damage. Commander Chen, begin the second phase. Zara Chen, who had spent years studying Nepheri weaknesses, led the ground assault teams. They didn't need to fight their way in. Their quantum technology simply let them bypass Nepheri defenses as if they didn't exist. This is Commander Chen of the Human Liberation Forces, Zara broadcast on all frequencies, including the underground channels used by the human resistance. To all humans on New Terra, the day of liberation has arrived. To all Nepheri forces, your technology has failed you. Surrender, and you will be treated with the humanity you denied us. In the manufacturing facilities, humans looked up from their forced labor as Neferi control systems suddenly went dark. Resistance members, who had received coded warnings through quantum channels, emerged from hiding to guide their people to safety. "Admiral," Sarah reported, "we're receiving surrender signals from all remaining Neferi forces on New Terra. They seem confused. Their commanders are asking how we bypass their perfect defenses." Maya allowed herself a small smile. "No response needed. They'll understand soon enough. Prepare for Phase 3. Over the next week, similar scenes played out across a dozen former human worlds. The Liberation Fleet moved with precision and purpose, using their superior understanding of quantum mechanics to systematically disable Neferi technology. They didn't need to destroy their enemies' ships and facilities. They simply rendered them useless. In her command center on Haven, Dr. Elena Santos monitored the campaign's progress. "The crystal degradation is accelerating faster than predicted," she noted. "Our quantum disruptors are catalyzing a cascade failure throughout their network." The Neferi Empire's response was chaotic and ineffective. Their attempts to mass their forces failed as more ships experienced system failures. Their perfect formations became ragged, their coordinated attacks fell apart, and their legendary technological superiority proved meaningless against an enemy who had mastered the underlying physics they had only stumbled upon. But it wasn't just military victory that Maya sought. At each liberated world, humanitarian ships followed the Liberation Fleet, bringing supplies, medical aid, and most importantly, the truth about humanity's survival and return. "Message from New Terra Resistance," Sarah reported one evening. "The human population is fully secure. They've begun dismantling the crystal factories and are requesting educational materials about quantum mechanics. They want to understand how we did it." Maya nodded approvingly. "Send them everything. The more our people understand about quantum science, the harder it will be for anyone to subjugate us again." The campaign's success exceeded even their most optimistic projections. Within a month, they had liberated 20 former human worlds. The Neferi Empire's outer regions were in chaos, their communication networks failing, their ships unable to maintain formation. "We're receiving an unexpected transmission," Sarah announced during the liberation of their 21st target. It's from Earth." Maya straightened in her command chair. "This wasn't supposed to happen for another phase of the operation." Source: "The Resistance. They say they've been monitoring our progress through quantum channels we didn't know they had. They've been preparing. They're asking." Sarah's voice caught slightly. "They're asking when we're coming home." Maya touched her data crystal again, thinking of that desperate evacuation 30 years ago. Of Sarah's mother, Admiral Chen, staying behind with the defense fleet to give the Arks time to escape. Of all the sacrifices that had made this moment possible. "Send a response," she ordered. "Tell Earth we're coming. But first, we need to ensure the Neferi can never threaten humanity again. Tell them to be ready. The final phase begins soon." As the message was sent, Maya looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Earth was waiting. But this time, humanity wasn't running. This time, they weren't just fighting for survival. This time, they were fighting to ensure that no species would ever again mistake human adaptability for weakness, human persistence for futility, or human ingenuity for inferior technology. The Neferi had driven humanity from Earth believing they had broken them. Instead, they had forced humanity to evolve beyond anything they could have imagined. And now, that evolution was coming home. The price of victory. Earth appeared on the Retribution's view screen. A planet transformed. Crystalline structures encrusted its surface like glittering scars. Neferi architecture imposed over the ruins of human cities. But beneath that alien facade, the homeworld still pulsed with human life and resistance. "Neferi High Command is requesting parley," Sarah Chen reported from her station. "They're offering to discuss terms." Admiral Maya Patel studied the tactical display. where thousands of Neferi ships attempted to maintain their once perfect formations around Earth. Their crystalline vessels sparkled with failing quantum energies, degradation clearly visible to Haven's advanced sensors. After 30 years of oppression, now they want to talk, Maya said quietly. Patch them through to my ready room. Commander Chen, prepare the ground teams. The Neferi High Commander's hologram appeared in Maya's ready room, its crystalline form showing visible imperfections, a physical manifestation of their failing technology. You are the ones who escaped, it stated, its translated voice carrying traces of disbelief. The experiment that failed. Maya's expression hardened. We were never your experiment. We were a species you underestimated, and that was your fatal mistake. Our mistake, the commander conceded, was not understanding quantum mechanics as deeply as we believed. Your mastery of these principles exceeds our own. We offer withdrawal from Earth and all former human territories in exchange for the knowledge to stabilize our crystal technology. In Haven's quantum labs, Dr. Elena Santos listened to the exchange through their entangled communications network. They still don't understand, she commented to Zora Chen, who stood beside her. They think this is just about technology. Maya's response to the Neferi commander was measured but firm. Your empire was built on the exploitation of other species, using technology you never truly understood. We didn't just develop better quantum mechanics, we evolved beyond your entire paradigm of existence. She leaned forward. Here are our terms. Immediate surrender of all forces in the Sol system. Liberation of all enslaved species in your empire. Complete dismantling of your military capability. In exchange, we will help stabilize your civilian infrastructure and prevent a catastrophic cascade failure of your crystal networks. The commander's crystalline form flickered. You would show mercy after what we did to your world. Mercy isn't weakness, Maya replied. It's evolution. You have 1 hour to decide. As they waited for the Neferi response, the Liberation Fleet maintained position. 3,000 ships, the combined might of humanity's reborn civilization, surrounded Earth in a display of power that made the Neferi's formations look primitive. On the planet below, the human resistance emerged from hiding. 30 years of secret preparation burst into coordinated action as they seized control of critical facilities, aided by quantum disruption signals from the fleet above. Message from Resistance Command, Sarah announced. They've secured the primary crystal control nodes. Neferi ground forces are in disarray. Zara's voice came through the quantum link. The crystal degradation is accelerating. If they don't accept our help soon, their entire infrastructure will collapse. Billions could die, including their subject species. Maya closed her eyes briefly. This was the real test. Not whether humanity could defeat the Neferi, but whether they could transcend the cycle of vengeance. Incoming transmission, Sarah reported. A high command has reached a decision. The next few hours were a blur of activity. The Neferi, faced with complete technological collapse, accepted humanity's terms. Liberation teams landed across Earth, bringing aid and technology to help stabilize essential systems. Maya walked through the ruins of Old Seoul, now a mix of crumbling crystal architecture and emerging human reconstruction. Dr. Santos had come down from Haven to personally oversee the stabilization process. Look at this, Elena said, indicating a group of young humans working alongside Neferi technicians to stabilize a power distribution node. They're already learning from each other. The Neferi understand crystal growth, while our people grasp the quantum principles. Together, they're developing something entirely new. Maya watched as former enemies worked to prevent catastrophe. Is this what evolution looks like, Elena? Not just better technology, but better ways of thinking. The Neferi thought they had reached perfection with their crystals. Elena replied, We proved that real perfection isn't about unchanging formations or eternal stability. It's about adaptation, growth, and the wisdom to know when to fight and when to heal. In the days that followed, the true scope of humanity's victory became clear. The Liberation Fleet had not just defeated the Nepheri, they had fundamentally transformed the power structure of known space. Other subjugated species, inspired by humanity's return, began asserting their independence. The Nepheri Empire is dissolving, Sarah reported during a command staff meeting. But instead of chaos, we're seeing something unprecedented. The former subject species are forming a cooperative alliance, with Earth being invited to take a leadership role. Maya stood at the window of the newly established Earth Command, looking out at the city where crystal spires now stood alongside recovered human architecture. 30 years ago, we ran because we had to survive. We returned not just with superior technology, but with a superior vision for the future. Zara Chen, who had spent years watching the Nepheri in secret, nodded. They thought perfection meant unchanging patterns and absolute control. We showed them that true perfection lies in evolution, adaptation, and cooperation. The quantum crystal that Maya had carried from Haven now sat on her desk, a reminder of both exile and return. But it was no longer just a memory of loss. It had become a symbol of transformation. Earth was healing. The crystal structures were being repurposed, integrated with human quantum technology to create something entirely new. The returning children of Earth brought with them not just advanced science, but advanced wisdom. We didn't just survive, Alina said softly, touching the crystal. We became something greater than we ever imagined. And now we can help others do the same. As the sun set over the transformed cityscape, Maya thought about the long journey from that desperate evacuation to this moment of triumph. The Nepheri had intended to end humanity's story. Instead, they had forced humanity to write a new chapter, one that would reshape the galaxy. It wasn't just a victory. It was an evolution. And it was just the beginning.